Welcome, everyone. My name is Vanessa Pizzuto. I am a journalist working with the Trans-European Division, and this is Pastor Patrick Johnson. Hi.
Hi, nice to be with you, Vanessa.
Nice to be. We are almost every day in the office and here in Finland as well,
Yeah.
spending time together. For those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I was born in Jamaica and then grew up in England. And after studying a little bit, moved to Norway because I married a Norwegian.
Yes.
She comes from the northernmost town in the world, which is called Hammerfest. And then we had 3 children there, lived there for 14 years, and now I'm back in England. I'm working at the Trans-European Division as the Ministerial Association Secretary.
Very well. So we know a little bit about you as, your professional and personal life. Tell us something we wouldn't suspect, something surprising or funny, a fun fact about Patrick.
Fun fact, I can ski. Doesn't look like it, does it? Yeah, I learned to cross-country ski while I was living in Norway.
Oh, wow, that's a good skill.
So that's
Something different. And recently, you have written a book, Love Fights Back. It's your first book.
my first book. Yes, indeed.
Congratulations, that's
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
So how did you start? How did you come about?
Well, I had spoken with a group of youth one time about identity, and we ended up talking about the 3 angels' messages.
Okay,
And I asked them, so what are the 3 angels' messages about?
yeah.
And there was silence. Nobody could explain it. So I thought, I'm going to go and write 3 sermons about this. But I'd have to do it in a different way because most people, as soon as you say the 3 angels' messages, it's like, oh, thank you very much, please. But because the experts, the way they explain it is so detailed, nobody knows anything about it. And so it started out as 3 sermons.
I would say that sometimes when it comes to the 3 angels message, I don't know about you, but myself, I grew up with a kind of scary
Yeah.
way to show this.
Yeah.
So if someone was to say to me, hey, share the gospel, I probably wouldn't start with the 3 angels, I'll be
No,
honest.
no.
So what is different about this book?
Well, our mission statement as Adventists is to go and make disciples who tell the good news about the 3 angels' messages. And as you say, for most of us, it's scary stuff. So what I've done is I've tried to use what I think is Jesus' method. He often summarized things, and then he told stories. So for each of the messages, I've given a summary and told a story, so that in the hands of anyone, they can just tell a story, and then they've told the first angel, second angel, third angel's messages. That's really what it's about.
I love it, and I think I was reading about storytelling because it's one of my passions, and it seems that our brains are wired for story, so it reaches us in ways that other things cannot. I don't want you to spoil the book for me. I really don't. But I was looking at it earlier, and in like your first paragraph, you say, "I am no longer afraid of God." Wow.
Yeah, I don't know about many other people, but I grew up with a pretty scary picture of God. We have used fear as a motivating factor for a really long time. And I think we have a generation of young people these days who they'll just vote with their feet and say, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So yeah, this represents my journey of coming to grips with a God who actually is not somebody to be afraid of at all, but somebody who just wants a close friendship with us.
Wow, and I love this because there's often a process of unlearning some toxic,
Yeah.
wrong, scary theology and learning good stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. And you told me earlier as well, there are some implications at the end of the book.
Yes.
If we believe this, what is going to happen? What are
Yeah.
some of those implications?
Yeah, so for example, with the first angel's message, one of the implications of that is how do we then look at the investigative judgment, which if there's one thing that makes most of us scared, it's the investigative judgment. So I revisit that in the book.
I
And
like that
revisit a few other
revisit.
things too.
I
Yes.
like the idea of revisiting. I was reading another book about the judgment, and it was talking about how we are judging God's character and how the judgment is a vindication of God's character. So I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. I think you're painting a beautiful picture of God, a loving picture of God, the real God. So I really appreciate that. I also know, and since I have you here, I also know that you have a passion for making the church accessible to everyone.
Yes.
And so before I let you go, I would love to hear a bit about that, because I know that's your calling as well.
Yes, indeed. So my further studies have been based on disability and how the church reacts to people with disabilities, and that's where my passion lies now as well, to make the church a place that is accessible to everyone, and especially those with special needs, whatever those needs may be, and there are a whole plethora of different needs. Because I think that's the way Jesus was. He made the gospel accessible to everyone, and you saw the appeal he had. I think that could happen to our church too. Imagine if we were known for making the gospel accessible to anybody who came. Oh, I think we would have a great appeal too.
You know, Patrick, years ago when I worked at a radio, I had the chance to interview Kevin Chandler. He is a man with a disability. He's bound to a chair, but he wanted to explore Europe, and he wanted to explore places that he couldn't get to in a wheelchair. So he had a bunch of friends, amazing friends, who came up with a backpack. He's quite light, and they carried him in a backpack so he could see all the places in Europe. If we were to take this idea and apply it to the church, what would be that backpack that makes church accessible? Or what would be some of the things that we can do to, because he said to me, you know, Vanessa, accessibility is not about lifts, it's about people helping people.
That's right.
So how can we do that?
Yeah, you know, I think we all need to think about going on a kind of journey of understanding and accepting people. We often start with ignorance. You know, we just don't know, and so we pity people. But then we need to move past that and get some more knowledge about different disabilities, for example, and that helps us go on a journey where we end up with friends that have disabilities, and making our churches completely accessible, and understanding that people with disabilities, they offer a lot to the church too. And the reason why this is such a passion for me is my son has a disability. He is wheelchair dependent, and we've learned so much through him as well, as just having him as our child. And I think, you know, in the Bible, God says he dwells in the highest heavens, but also with those who are in the most humble places as well. So if you want to find God, go to the humble places, the people who are, if you like, in our eyes, most humble, and you will find God there. And imagine if our churches were known for that. It would be something spectacular.
What an amazing testimony, right? Absolutely. But I love that, what we can learn from them. This is a journey about learning from people from disabilities, things that we ought to learn. Patrick, where can we find your book?
Well, if you go to lifesourcebookshop.co.uk, you can find the book there, and hopefully you will enjoy the read.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.